So Jimma or Jim, or I don't know what that is, but he says, hello, gents. Question if I may. My main site is an e-com site, and I'm looking to set up GMB listing for the site. Can I create a subdomain for each location, or is it best to create a different website for each location instead? Many thanks in advance. Okay, I would do a subdomain because, and here's the thing, and we talked about this, I think even last week. First of all, if you got your main domain as your brand, then you don't want a different website for each location. If you're having multiple locations, if you're going to be incorporating local into your e-com, which I know some people do, you don't want to have a separate website for each because you want to piggyback off of the brand authority that you're building, right, through your main brand. And brand authority is huge, guys. If you can build the brand, then every subsequent location that you add will instantly benefit from the brand authority, as opposed to if you had like completely separate websites and different, domains for each location. It's treated as a different web asset, even if it might be part of the same entity, and it could create a whole lot of a nightmare trying to code all that stuff together and structured data and everything else if they're all separate websites. But if you have subdomains, then the authority that you build to the root through what you're doing to the root domain, as well as any locations on subdomains, or even they could be in subdirectories, depending on what the setup is on your e-com site, then you're going to accrue authority to that root domain so that anytime you add a new subdomain, it's going to instantly benefit from the authority created or accrued on the root domain. And the same would work as a subdirectory too. It just depends on how you have hosting set up. I've always preferred to use subdomains, but as Marco was talking about last week, fortunately I haven't, I'm going to knock on wood, I haven't caught any penalties in years. So we could probably get away with, not probably, but I could get away with doing subdirectories, and that actually squeezes a little bit more power out of it than subdomains would. So that would be like a folder on your root domain where you would have a new website inserted if you were going to do it that way. And in fact, what I would suggest doing is, if you're going to be setting up different websites, unless you're like duplicating the e-commerce site onto subdomains, what I would do is maybe just like one WordPress install on a subdomain, right, of your e-commerce site, and then use that one WordPress installation as the website for all of your different locations with just a separate location page. That way you're only managing one site, if that makes sense. But again, it really depends on what it is that you're trying to do on each one of those local sites, so to speak. Are you trying to reproduce the e-com site in its entirety, or are you just using it for SEO purposes, for like content marketing for each location based, for each location, or what? That's really going to determine what the ideal setup is. But like I said, I've always preferred subdomains in the past, but I haven't had a penalty in years for anything because we use the SEO shield. So I could get away with doing it all on one domain. Comments?
No, I mean, I totally agree. And as you know, we always drink our own Kool-Aid, right? We always do we don't just tell people to do what we do or to listen to what we say. We show them. And so what we did with mgyb.co is we're actually putting things in folders. The blog is in a folder, the store is in a folder, the shortener is in a folder. So we just went with it. And like the shortener gets hammered continuously, not just by us, but people who use the shortener also. And so far, so good. And it powers up everything so much that everything benefits from it. Agreed. So, I mean, with subdomains, the problem is that it's treated as three different, as many different domains as you add subdomains. And so the power gets split up with the link below. So if you're not connecting everything correctly, the power isn't going to flow the way that it's supposed to. When it's in a subfolder, or when it's in a folder inside the root, everything just flows naturally because everything's connected anyway. That's the difference. It's how you approach the power that you're going to push through the subdomains or through the folders, where everything either flows or you have to smash everything through the subfolders. I mean, when we were throwing everything at the subfolders, including really bad stuff, yes, it was recommended to use the subdomain. But now, we don't really care because everything goes through the SEO Power Shield anyway.
That's correct. Yep.